We're here at the launch of the Scottish division of the Junior 1000 Rally Championship. This is quite a big step for Scotland and a very exciting step, and we're delighted to have a group of people here, some youngsters and one of Scotland's legends, Jimmy McRae. So these youngsters are going to have a chance to speak to Jimmy, and we'll get a feel for how Jimmy sees it and how the youngsters see it. So Jimmy McRae and 6 of our youngsters, Leslie will do the questions.
Well, thank you everyone for coming along. Jimmy, I'll start with a general question for you. Formula Junior 1000 is obviously a new thing that's coming to Scotland. You yourself as a father, a while ago, will have been in a similar position to the parents of some of these youngsters here. How do you think something like this will be helpful? A championship where you can start before you can drive legally on the road?
I think it's a fantastic idea, and it's a pity it wasn't started some time ago. I mean, when Colin and Alistair started, they couldn't drive a rally car. Colin actually went to auto test because he could drive a car at 16, but before that it was bikes. And they thought go-karts then was more a racing, it was more for racing, bringing you up as a racing driver, so they weren't all that keen on that. But no, I think it's definitely a good idea. And if you get someone in at the age of the events run properly, the championships run properly, I think it's a great thing for Scotland.
Of course, as well as producing 2 fantastically competitive sons, you yourself are one of the greatest rally drivers Scotland has ever produced. Just as kind of to give some advice to these youngsters that you're sitting with, what kind of things can you be doing before you get your licence to make sure that you really hit the ground running?
Well, one thing don't do as I did, pinch my mother's car and go out when I didn't have a licence. Don't do these things now. No, I think any time, I mean, it's more open now that you can't even get the official driving instructors instructions before you're 17, and I think it's good, because at 17-year-old and put in a car, and if you pass your test first time, then you're straight out into the big bad world of the motorways and the towns and stuff. And I think any sort of experience you can get out with that or before that is definitely worthwhile. I mean, I spent my younger years before I was 17, I had an uncle, a cousin who were farmers, and I spent most of my time on the farm. I only went there because I could ride the tractor, and that was just another way of getting in the driving seat before you could officially go on the road.
Great. One kind of last thing before I move on to the youngsters, Jimmy, given your own experiences and those of Colin and Alistair, if there's one thing that you perhaps wish you'd known when you were the age of these guys, what would it be?
Well, I think something that is typical for what's happening here. I wish I had started rallying before I was 30-year-old. I never sat in a rally car until I was 30. And it would have been nice if the opportunity had been there that you could have been in a rally car younger, and I might still not have made it until I was 30-year-old, but at least if you're in at a young age, you can actually learn more and adapt yourself and listen to people who are there teaching you, people who have been there before and done it. Listen to people.
Great, Jimmy, thanks very much. We'll move on to the youngsters now. Martha, I was going to come to you first. As one of the first products in Britain of the Junior 1000 scheme, can you just tell me a little bit about how it's helped you?
It's just, well, basically I just missed just the age gap. I'm just turned, I'm 18 now, but it was down in England, but it was just, because I'd never been in a car, like you said, in fields and things, but it gives you, and there's tuition as well, it tells you proper driving skills. It's obviously that's the thing, it's safe, it's on an airfield, there's no trees or forests to crash into, it's good, and it gave everyone, you could just test your own kind of little things without being in any kind of dangerous ways.
This next question I'd like to address to Scott Murray. What is maybe a little bit different about you, Scott, is that I understand you come from a slightly different background, a background in karting. So can you just tell me why you're thinking about switching to rallying?
Well, I've always wanted to do rallying, and when I started karting when I was 10, and it was the only thing I could do then, because there was not this sort of thing. But now they've started this thing, I'm desperate to get in.
Excellent. And if we move on, next question I'd like to raise to Scott Miller, because Scott is part of one of the most successful Scottish rallying teams, if you like, at the moment. Maybe if you can see closely, he's wearing the jacket of Colin Smith and Craig Chapman, our IRC competitors. Are you going to be building a car shortly, Scott?
Should hope so once I get the order.
And working with Colin and Craig, what kind of things have they been telling you to look forward to in the stages?
Just sort of have fun, and once you get out on the stage, it's just it's a good little car, so have fun basically. Get into the whole rally.
By building the car, what kind of things do you think you're going to be learning as well as about driving?
Just how the car works, how to set it up, just the basics of the car.
There's one thing to remember here, just when you mentioned that you work in the car as well. It's pretty imperative to make sure that the car is reliable, and it's also imperative to get as many miles under your belt. There's quite a few cars in the championships just now that seem to get the first couple of stages and break down. The young drivers don't get the experience. Make sure the car doesn't need to be the ultimate car, as long as it's reliable and getting the miles under your belt. That is one of the best things. The way to get up the ladder is mileage makes perfection.
Well, Formula 1000 is something that's hopefully going to fill quite a big gap. And it was a gap that was definitely there before it came along. Michael Cruikshank, could you just tell us about some of the frustrations you've had over the last couple of years?
Well, mainly we've not had any kind of championship like this. There's been no formula for our age group in rallying. The only option would have been karting, but for some people like ourselves, racing's not really the kind of what we wanted to do. So the only way I could find a way in was through co-driving in stage rallying, which really personally it's been beneficial to me, but it's not always for some people. But personally, I've benefited from that, and seeing what a co-driver has to do, and what the driver doesn't maybe see, the co-driver does, and I think it's I do think that's benefited me from that point of view.
So you're basically doing the co-driving because you're not wasting time, but you're spending time in a rally car until you get into the driving seat.
Yeah,
because normally co-drivers don't make good drivers, you see. I've found that in the past.
Looking at Campbell.
No, it's a good idea. Again, it's mileage. You can see what he's doing and learn by his mistakes. And definitely good.
Also, one question for Jimmy: if out of all the kind of ways in, maybe autographs, auto test, out of your experience, what would you say would benefit people like us the most?
Well, I think what's happening here is good, and it's definitely going to benefit you. In that you're 16, you can co-drive, you can't drive. When Colin was 16, he actually co-drove when he was 16 as well, but then we found out that you could get the auto test. Now, a lot of people say, auto test, it's handbrake, spinning round about cones, but it's all about balance and brake and throttle and steering, and there's a technique there as well that will help you in rallying as well.
Next question I'd like to put to Stephen McRae, and that's quite simply, why do you want to go rallying?
I've always sort of watched my dad rally drive, so just thought I'd like to try it because it looks fun, and just it's exciting as well.
Do you think that in a couple of years you'll be able to emulate your dad's success?
Hopefully.
You don't say that, you say better than that.
the last question I'd like to put to Mikey Dickey. As I understand, you're going to be 13 soon, which means that when Junior 1000 comes to Scotland, you'll be in exactly the sort of right age bracket to start. Between now and then, what kind of things are you going to be doing to get yourself ready?
First of all, sell the car I've got just now, and then save up, buy a car for the series, and get into as much training courses as I can, and start from there.
And is your dad Jake, who used to be a co-driver, has he given you any input or help?
Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to open the floor to you guys now to ask if you have any questions for Jimmy.
Start with Mike.
If to get into the way, what would be the best way to kind of start off?
Well, obviously, right, you're starting at the proper age, to definitely right in at the bottom rung of the ladder, and it's as I said, get yourself a nice, reliable car and go to the events with a plan of finishing these events and getting mileage under your belt. Then, you know, if you've any other spare time and the car's running, you know, get it somewhere else, a private road or a private place where you can get as much practice as you can, because it is definitely, you know, the more miles you put under your belt, the better.
Scott Murray, you've got a question for Jimmy?
What do you think the best car for this series would be?
I think the Micra, the Nissan Micra. When we had McRae Motorsport, we used to run a Micra for Bertie Fisher's son, and I found that, you know, to be a pretty ultra reliable little car and a very nicely balanced car. So I don't really have any experience of anything else, but that would definitely be one of the cars that I would look at.
Great. Martha?
Obviously, this has taken so many more years than anything else. Like the karting is obviously you can get in it, you can jump in a car at 10 years old, like you said, and the super, like the mini superbikes and even rallycross. Why do you think the reason is it's taken so long for the MSC to accept rallying? Do you think it's any reason for it to be more dangerous, or do you think it's?
No, I honestly don't understand why they haven't. I mean, if you've got a properly built Nissan Micra or whatever, with a roll cage in it, proper seats and belts in it, and you're going and doing single venue events, it's no more dangerous than a 10-year-old driving a car at 60, 70 miles an hour. So I don't understand why. I think they've always looked at it as rallying was originated from road rallying, and possibly that's why they never really thought more about it. But I definitely think it's a good idea.
Scott Miller?
The best way to get into it, like me, I've just missed out on the age gap, so what other way would you get into it?
Get into it in some of the challenge, choose your challenge, or get yourself a 1000cc Micra and enter the rallies. You know, once you've got your license, you can do that. You can drive the road sections, or just go to these single venue events. You know, maybe you're not in the age group of the young guys, but you could have the same car there and do the same event, and you could clash yourself against the guys in the same car. But you know, get yourself into a class championship, and obviously the aim then is to be best in that class.
Stephen McRae?
How long do you think it take you to get sort of into it, sort of get
I think everybody's different. You know, there'll be young people there with loads of talent, you know, that just click, and there'll be other guys there guys and girls there that it'll take them a while to work at it to get the best out of themselves. So it's a difficult question. That I mean, you might just be one of the somebody here might just jump in the car and just be. It just clicks for them right away, and you know they're winning the championship, they're winning their class all the time. It's very difficult, you know. then you get the other guy who thinks about it, works at it, and work away and eliminates the bad bits, and maybe take a couple of years, 3 years to get to a level with somebody that maybe can jump in and do it 2 or 3 events. So it really depends on the individual.
Possible Michael Cruikshank.
What kind of, if there was any kind of things you would look out for in an up-and-coming driver, what would they be?
If I was looking from the outside to see,
Yeah.
obviously somebody that's consistent and winning. I mean, a person who's going to shine and go places is somebody that's going to win right from the start. Well, not maybe right from the start, but show potential there. Maybe not win, maybe have reliability problems or offs or whatever, but still have the speed. Then the further they go, the better they get. And there's all the talk about the next Richard Burns, the next Colin McRae, and there will be somebody there. There is definitely somebody there. There will be somebody there, but that guy's got to be a wee bit above the rest and be able to go out there with a 1000cc car and beat everybody else in his class. Then he goes up to the next, jumps in a Honda, beats everybody in his class. Then that's when you think, right, you keep an eye on this lad.
Right, just bring it to a close. I'd like to thank Jimmy McRae for such valuable insight for these youngsters. I'd like to thank all of the 6 that have come along for giving up their time and for asking Jimmy such great and insightful questions. Thank you all, and best of luck for whatever you're doing tomorrow and the rest of the year.